How are you guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Anthony, and today I want to take you through microprocessors. So, microprocessors are devices which control the operating of electrical devices. So, and microprocessors are made up of three main blocks, namely the central processing unit, the memory unit, and the input-output interface. So on the diagram, we can see how the different blocks interact with each other. Uh, on this illustration, this is how the microprocessor can be assembled on the chipset, where the power supply comes in. We have the input-output interface. We have the memory unit. Yes. Also, the microprocessor is illustrated using all its components, which include the output devices, the input devices, the arithmetic and logic unit, the registers, the memory. So all these components are classified under the control unit, the input-output devices, and the memory section. And the buses, these are the data. These are the buses which control the which helps the microprocessor transmit data and instruction from the different blocks of the processor. This is the different way of still showing the microprocessor. Okay, so we have the CPU, and the main function of the CPU is to perform all the instructions and arithmetic and logic operations on the data. So the CPU of the microcomputer is called the microprocessor. Okay, the memory unit stores both the data and instructions. When you say instructions, these include the BIOS, which are the basic instruction of booting up the microprocessor. So the memory typically contains of the read-only memory and the random access chip. So the read-only memory is where we store the BIOS and the parameters of the microprocessor. Microprocessors are typically what we call a very large-scale integration chips that contains all the registers, control units, and arithmetic and logic circuits of the microcomputer. The read-only memory can be read and is non-volatile, that it remains in its content when the power is turned off. When the microprocessor is turned off, the data or instruction in ROM will be held permanently. The read-only memory is used to store instruction and data that do not change. For the example, we have tables of code for putting data to display to microcomputer for turning on digit 0 to 9. We can only read and write into RAM. RAM is volatile, which means the content of RAM will not be held, or it cannot be stored when the power is turned off. The read-only memory is used to store programs and data that are temporary and might change during the course of the executing of the program. The input-output unit transfer data between the microcomputer and external devices, external via the input-output ports or registers. Also, the input-output ports transfers data internally within the microcomputer, let's say from the memory to the CPU. These transfers involve data, instructions, status, and control signals. So we have different type of chips microcomputers. We have the first one, which is single chip microcomputers. In this case, the CPU, memory, and output element are all held. They are all installed on one chip. This is in single chip microcomputer. In single chip microprocessor, separate chips for memory, input, and output are required. This means that for the memory, we'll have a separate chip which is installed on the circuit board on its own. Then for the input-output interfaces, we have it on a different chip installed on the circuit board. This will apply as well as for the CPU. So we have microcontrollers, and microcontrollers evolved from single chip microcomputers and are used for dedicated applications such as automotive system, home appliance, and home entertainment system. And this means is that for a device, let's say like a microwave has a single microcontroller which control all its functions. Typical microcontroller includes one chip timers like analog to digital converters. An example are Intel 751. So we have buses, and buses, these are in microprocessor system. Buses contain, we have three buses, type of buses: the address bus, the data bus, and the control bus. These buses connect the microprocessor, which is the CPU, to each of the ROM, RAM, and input-output chips so that information transfer between the microprocessor and any other element can take place.